right. It's working, yes.
I
Oh,
still I see the box that says continue.
yep. So I think you can record this on your end too, or it doesn't matter. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I'm gonna get a hard copy after it's all done
yeah,
anyway. So all
that's
nice and
fine.
edited. So, but welcome everybody. Wish this show was live, but it seems like I always have more problems doing a live show than I do having it pre-recorded, and one that's going to look really nice after this is done, probably later on this evening or tomorrow morning at the latest. So, welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. I'm your host, Dr. Paul Mekas, and our special guest today, Miriam Silver. How do you pronounce your first name? Miriam?
Miriam.
Miriam.
Yeah.
There you go. Close enough. Close
Or
enough.
or you can call me Mimi. That's still
There you go.
short.
That's easy. Awesome. Well, Mimi, um, so you reached out to me that while you were trying to reach out to me when I was in the Lakeland show, but I was every time I guess you kept stopping by the table and I
Right.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, my table acts as my secretary.
Oh.
I keep the business cards there and QR
Okay.
code so people can scan.
Yeah.
And I'm very rarely at the table unless I have a helper with me at these shows because I'm doing a lot of filming and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And but thank you for reaching out to me.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
when I first got your email, I was intrigued with your story as an author, an artist, also as a podcaster. You have your own show,
Yes. Yes.
and your show is Rev Up Awaken,
Yeah. Rev up and awaken.
Rev Up and Awaken.
Yes.
And you have this is your second book, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
And this book, right, what we're going to be talking about this evening is spiritual cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have the website up on the video as well, so anybody can check out the specific website for the book and um, your podcast and your Facebook page. I'll have all that information for all the viewers and listeners as well. Um, so, Mimi, tell us about yourself.
Tell me. Oh, thank you, first of all, for having me on your show.
Very welcome.
I really appreciate it. Well, gee, where do I begin here? um, I'm a spiritualist, and I've been involved in a spiritual journey of my own for many years. And I'm a writer, and I love podcasting because I love informing people about these same subjects and helping them to find their own spiritual journey, their own spiritual path, and just to help people to remember who they are. That's what I feel like I'm here for. And I've had an interesting experiences along the way, and I feel like a lot of the things that I've done certainly can help a lot of people to understand why the hell we go through these things in life, and
Yeah.
so it's an interesting, being human is a complex journey, and we're always expanding and always trying to figure out the whys and wherefores of why we're here and what we're doing here, and it all comes down to just that we are spirit and we come here to experience a human existence, and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, going through all the trials and tribulations, the pain, the emotional pain, the physical pain. So many people out there. I'm sure everybody has faced some crossroad. Many, definitely more than one. And we always question ourselves when we come to these points of what we look at as tragedy or
right.
whatnot. That what's this all about? What is this that we're going through? Why am I given this opportunity and somebody else gets that opportunity, and why
Mm-hmm.
can't I have that opportunity? And it's yeah, um yeah, it's a fight. It's a fight.
Yeah. And it always
And
seems like, oh, maybe the next guy is having a better time at it than you, but it all depends on what they came here to experience, and everybody, no two are the same. So we do come in knowing that we have certain challenges that we want to meet, we accept that as something like we're happy to do. It's only when we come into the human form that we say, what the hell did we sign up for? You
Yeah,
know, so
yeah, yeah.
uh,
It's
that's
like
when
we,
we start questioning.
yeah. It's like we're never given that owner's manual when we come into this world. It's
Yeah.
like I did not get the book on this.
Yes, and in fact, I've said that plenty of times to my spirits. I say, you could have just given us a little bit of a heads up of what's to expect to be in a human form and what it's like to be here. And I've often thought of like putting together like a handbook for the earthbound,
Yeah.
who need to be like have some understanding of what are we getting ourselves into. I suppose if we've been reincarnated several times, like I know I have been, that you sort of adapt to it. You sort of get an understanding, but it always seems to be like a surprise every time you come back down here.
Yeah. Yeah. We need another version of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so let's dive into the book. What
Okay.
brought you to this current book here, Spiritual Cancer?
Well, back in 2019, let me back up a little. 2018, I was feeling very sick. I didn't understand what was going on with me because I've never been really sick before, and it was a new thing for me. And by 2019, I went to a doctor, and he diagnosed me with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I was going through these body aches and pains, constant coughing, couldn't catch my breath walking just 2 blocks, which was really unusual for someone like me because I'm a walker. Being coming from New York, that's all I did was walk,
Yeah.
and just overall feeling of just like feeling sick. Then all of a sudden, several weeks afterwards, I started to get lumps all over my neck and my clavicle on the left side. And I said, okay, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
Something's not right. So going from one doctor to another, I finally came across this primary doctor who was, I think, an internist as well, and he did some tests. And he and my first doctor realized that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then that set me on a road to trying to figure, okay, where do we go from here? I was never I was never a person who felt like the medical industry had all the answers, but here I had to put my faith in certain people because I was trying to figure this whole thing out and what I was going to have to do for myself to heal myself. So, they sent me to an oncologist, and naturally he decided, for me, because that's what they do, that you have to go through chemo treatment. So for 6 months, every other week, I would go. In 2019, I went for chemo. But one of the things I realized as I was going through it, because it scared the hell out of me, what I was hearing, because I never thought ever that I would ever hear the words "you have cancer." Never. It never would have dawned on me that that would be something that I would have to go through. And even when he said the word cancer, my voice went up several octaves, like cancer, like in disbelief. It just wasn't something that I thought I would ever get. And so when I finally went, decided, okay, well, this was the treatments. They went through the biopsy, the CT scans, the PET scans, the putting the port in. I just knew that, first of all, this was coming from a deeper reason than just what people think are as genes. The genes don't give you cancer. It comes from a deeper level. And unless you have a spiritual alignment and a deep understanding of your spirituality, whatever they do is not going to actually eradicate the problem. First of all, they don't even think that they can cure anybody. And second, and they certainly don't offer you any type of, positive outlook. They just say, well, we're going to send you through this, and see what happens, and do tests, to keep up on it. And I knew I had to add that spiritual section of my life into it, because if you don't add the spirituality, you're basically helping yourself to heal by doing so. So connecting to your spirit is very important, because no matter what they put in your body, that's not going to help you heal. And if you don't add that spiritual side to you, you're going to keep on getting it over and over and over again, because basically what it comes down to is the fact that there's something inside of you that needs to be healed. And we
Yeah.
have a spiritual aspect in you that has, the time we come here in a physical form, we are inundated with so many things that can just contaminate and poison us here. So I came from a very traumatic childhood, and I knew that this was something that was manifesting in my body so that I can get rid of that trauma, get rid of all that was going on for all those years that was lingering, that, you adapt to it, you just put it inside the back of your brain, you don't do anything about it, you figure, oh, that's life, you just get on, you go through life every day the way it is. And I was always a questioner to begin with. I never accepted what people said. I was just like, let me see what this is all about. So I was always studying and researching, what's our life about? Why do things happen to us? What's our reality about? And like many people have said, like one of the first things that I read was Seth Speaks, and it dawned on me the importance, the significance of what Seth was bringing to this world. The
Yeah.
fact is that we create what goes on in our lives. It's not happenstance. It's not God punishing us. The God force is there as part of our the creation source, creative source. But we are the ones that decide, because of our free will, what we intend to do with our mission, with our agenda to be in this life. And I feel that one of the reasons why I decided to do this, besides the fact that I had to get rid of trauma, I had to tell people about it. I had to let people know that this isn't all what we've been told it is. It's not just physical, and that's where the medical industry just takes care of the physical aspects. They
Yeah.
don't add in the spiritual ramifications of the whys and wherefores. They're just interested in your genes and your circulatory system, the body parts, the organs. They don't go beyond that. Unless, of course, you actually meet a holistic doctor, for instance, or some naturopathic doctors, healers, spiritual healers. These are beings that bridge both sides. And what I realized is that I had to participate in my own healing. I can't just like leave it up to them.
Yeah.
This isn't just about them. They're just going to go along their little guidelines, their national guidelines. But it's up to each individual to take care of themselves. And that's where I entered. I started journaling all my treatments. Every time I went for a treatment, no matter what it was, and I was just getting these channeled, really interesting channeled observations of everything I was going through. So it's pretty entertaining when you read the book, and then all the insides and outs, the in and outs of what I was thinking, of what I knew other people might be thinking, who have been going through this, and I thought that my experience can help other people experience their experience, and to give them a different perspective,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's tough to think of it only as a physical thing. You don't get anywhere with that.
Yeah. Yeah, because and I've always believed that cancer, there's two sides to cancer. Yes, there's this physical side
Right.
where our medical industry is making buco money on it, and
Yes.
with the pharmaceutical companies. And I've always
Mm-hmm.
believed that there's always been a cure for cancer out there. There's been
Exactly.
a cocktail out there, a natural cocktail for it that can cure it. And some of these doctors out there are saying, yes, there is
Uh-huh.
one. It's just
Yes.
they're being forced not to give it out.
Exactly.
So, and then the spiritual side, that
Mm-hmm.
the amount of power that we actually have, the mind over matter. Some of these, and you hear some of these stories from the ancient yogis, and
Mm-hmm.
these ancient shaman and stuff like that, that they can literally not only bend space time, but they're able to go into their own body or other people's body and heal,
Yes.
at a molecular level. And um, and going through it, having to go through cancer like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
um, you get connected to the self, you get connected to you, the
Right.
body, um, and to source. and getting connected to source. And yeah, and I definitely understand. And like I told you over the phone too, it's like I had the quick, I mean, it's not at the level that you've gone through, but it does affect you when a doctor
Yes,
comes to you,
exactly.
like when I was telling you about my dermatologist and said, yes, you have a potential cancerous tumor or whatnot, on the skin and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, but when you hear that for the first time, it doesn't matter whether it's skin cancer or a brain tumor
Yes.
or anything, but when someone mentions that word cancer,
Oh,
it
yeah.
throws you off.
Absolutely. The fear
So
factor
yeah,
just like enters you. And then, and and up until that point, you had the usual things that annoyed you in life, the feelings that you feel like you're not living up to your purpose. You feel like I'm in these doldrum jobs and I really don't feel like I'm a part of it. I feel like there's something more I need to do. And, all these little things. But when that hits, it either brings you totally down into an abyss of depression and you feel like you can't get out of it, or in the end of it you feel like this has to transition you into something more,
yeah,
because in the end spirit wants to expand. That's all it wants to do. And if it feels stuck, it will figure out a way for you to unstuck that energy. And that's really what it was, unstuck energy from the past and everything that I had gone through with my family. And um, and by going through it, it helped me to see further into where I wanted to go. I mean, I was living in New York. I was born there, bred there. Didn't think I would ever leave New York. As of this past July, I left, came here to Florida,
yeah,
felt drawn to come here. Um, what people don't realize is that Florida has a very healing energy to it. That's the reason why so many people are flocking to it.
yeah,
And the fact is, cold weather is not my friend. I can't stand it anymore. Been there for too long, and I just had enough of it.
yeah,
And I mean, I miss part of Florida. I miss my friends, but you can still, there are other ways of getting in touch and communicating with people. Just because you're not in the same state or city doesn't mean you're gone. We can still communicate.
yeah.
So I felt this need to change a lot of things in my life, and that was one of the things. I felt the need to start a new chapter in my life and to start doing things that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, and I I I felt that too. That when you get the word of a sickness or an illness and stuff, it changes you. It makes you think. You know, I've I've thought about it. Long. I mean, try to meditate as much as I can, and going through specific retreats and ceremonies and stuff like that. And it seems that I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers of this show that are going to be watching this, might potentially have um, some listeners that have gone through this or are going through this, and might have some questions going, yeah, I need help to
Right.
I don't know how to I've heard that a lot, and I don't know how to meditate, or I don't know how to connect, or I don't know how to do this or do that. Now, is that something that you discuss in your book and on your podcast for people who might be going through cancer treatments or other things that they can learn from you?
Well, on my podcast, I do try to touch upon a lot of different subjects that helps people to get connected with their spirit. And in my book, I mention my spiritual journey going through this as well. And because I'm a big advocate of healings and sound vibration and how you need to try to rebalance your body, because basically what happens is your body is in dis-ease, it's out of balance, and it needs to be brought back to an alignment. All these modalities help to do that. Besides the meditation, besides music that's really nurturing, as opposed to a lot of the noise that's out there. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube that has the 432 hertz, it
Mm,
was a megahertz or hertz,
yeah,
and those, and even nature sounds, going out into nature or listening to some of these videos on nature itself. I know that sometimes just listening to the birds sing, to the leaves in the trees just swaying and going through the breeze, these are things that are meant to be there to keep us in alignment. And a lot of people, especially if they're in cities, they don't get that nurturing value that it has, and they're cut off from it. And a lot of people may not even see the value in it. You know, they may not even be drawn to it. I love animals. I love nature. I love art, because a lot of art is also helps to it speaks to you. It communicates. It's a healing device as well. And even if you go through art therapy, when you're doing, let's say you have like certain issues that are coming up in your life, going through art therapy and doing something creative, and even if you're not going through art therapy, do something creative on your own, and that helps to get in touch with those aspects of you that perhaps need to be like unleashed and released. And also it helps you to see, okay, where do I have problems? You know, what's coming up when I'm creating and channeling, and listening to comedy. That was another thing. My naturopathic doctor, he says, all right, I want you to sit and listen to comedy, whether it's a
Yeah.
movie, whether it's a TV show. I went on YouTube. I was listening. Robin Williams is like one of my favorites. So he puts me into hysterics. These are means of catharsis. You need to be able to release, even crying, letting it out. You
Yeah.
know, you can't keep it in, because it's keeping energy stuck inside of you, and you have to release these things. All of these are helpful while you're going through the treatments, the fears that crop up, listening to people talk to you about certain things. And, you know, one of the other things that I talked about in my book was the fact that you need to have a spiritual team around you. You need to have not only the beings that are always around you anyway, and, you know, talk to them and tell them, you know, what's happening, or they know what's happening, but just tell them what's going on inside of you, what you're feeling. But also having close friends and family members who you can like call up when uh, your body's in so much pain, you know, and you're like, your body's on fire from the chemo, you know,
Yeah.
or your stomach is upset because the chemo is upsetting your stomach, and your digestive system becomes like it becomes compromised. Your whole body becomes compromised because of all those drugs.
Yeah.
So all these methods, and also one of the things that I was very keen on doing every time I went through a chemo treatment, I visualized the drugs in my system in white light, and that is one of the most important things you can do, because unless you do that, it's like you're thinking poison, toxins going into your body,
Yeah.
but you want it to somehow help with the healing process. And by visualizing it and using that intention, helps to fortify what is going inside your body. Otherwise, it is going to do some damage to you,
Yeah.
because you're going to think in fear. You're going to think in like, oh my God, what am I putting inside of me? They give you papers. The doctor gives you papers about every one of the drugs and what the effect can do to you. A couple of them said it can cause death. Now, how do you feel going in there, getting these drugs put inside of you, and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die because these drugs are going to kill me? It's not going to help you any. So you
Yeah.
have to really participate in your healing. You have to fortify it with your spiritual side of you, and no matter what that spiritual side is, everybody's got their own what they resonate with. Me, it's a more spiritual. Uh, I see Christ as a healing, as a master healer and teacher, and that's how I view him.
Yeah.
And so he and so many other my angelic guides, I used all this to help fortify me to get through this, because I knew I had to do this. I had to do this on my own, and I had to be strong as much as possible. On some days I rested and I wasn't so strong, but in the days I had to go in, I had to be strong enough to do it. And
Yeah.
it's tough. It really is.
Yeah. Now, the support that who all did you have in your group? Who do you call your peeps, your group that helped supported you through this?
Well, some of them were, you know, it's like the only family member I have right now is my sister in New York. But I have like extended friends I mean, friends who I consider as extended family. So they were, I'd be calling. There were times when I'd be calling at strange times of the day, and like there'd be like one or two that I would instantly pick up the phone as if they knew I needed them, and then they
Yeah.
would say, "Okay, talk to us. What's happening?" And then I have my spiritual teacher, Blanca Bayer, who has been my healer for a long time,
Yeah.
and I have a teacher who I've known for years, Thomas, who I've used as my rock as well, and so many other people. I mean, my colleagues from work, from my last job. I was surprised. They actually came up to me and helped me through it. It was tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's like
Oh,
all the
no
time. Every
worries.
time I come
No
up to
worries.
certain points,
Yeah.
you still feel like the love that people give you. When you go through something like this,
Yeah. And
it's
yeah,
it.
it is
Yeah,
important to have those good friends
yeah,
and family and stuff like that. You get to know
yeah,
who really who really loves you and
yeah.
who has best intentions to you and who your real friends are in life when you go through
Absolutely.
them. Yeah.
Because there were other people who had, I had, knew about what I went through, and they were very, what's the word, detached and not feeling. This is the thing that I find about people. They, especially nowadays, the heart is very important to keep open, and when you feel and help others get through certain things, you're opening up your own heart as well.
Yeah.
Because initially I wasn't going to tell anybody what was going on. I had to tell my job because naturally I had to take off for all the doctor appointments and the chemo transfusions and all that. But then something was telling me, no, tell people, because this is going to help them too. It helps expand your heart, helps you get nurtured, and it helps to expand their heart.
Yeah.
And and when you're sharing something like that, it helps the entire collective, because it starts to escalate and go beyond. It snowballs out into the world, because we are one collective. We're all one spirit, but we just feel separated in this world.
Yeah.
Because
The illusion.
yeah,
Yeah, the illusion of separation when we're not,
yeah.
there is no
Be-
separation.
yeah, we,
Yeah.
we, we feel like, well, okay, we're in this one body. We're one individual. We're not connected to the next person over there, and people just take that as it's such a limitation to who we are, because we are multidimensional beings. And that part of it is very important. We need to remember that we are more than a smallness that we've been told for centuries. We are so much more, and and that's one of the things I want to convey to people, not only through my books but also through my podcast, that there's so much more to us. We're so much bigger than what we've been
Yeah.
told in society. You know.
Yeah. And that a couple of the interviews I've had in the past, like last week, talking with Jim Vieira, which has been on the History Channel a few times, and talking about some of the ancient mystery schools
Yes.
that he brings up in some of his lectures and stuff like that. That
Yes.
Plato, Aristotle, all these great philosophers in history were all students of these ancient mystery schools that have
Exactly.
disappeared. They've just disappeared. There are organizations out there. There are, they call them secret societies, but the Rosicrucians, the Freemasons and stuff like that, or you know, it, they do still teach those. They are out there,
Yes.
and they're not nefarious or malicious as some people out there that
Right.
that are making it sound out to be. It's just the bad people, the really
People
bad people who have taken these organizations and turned
hijacked.
them into, and yeah, hijacked these organizations
Yes.
that are there and meant for the good.
Yes.
Um, and but yeah, I think this is something that that we should bring back the mystery schools, start teaching people about, the source energy, where
Yes.
we're from, our capabilities and our abilities to be able to, you know, we can manifest anything. We are the creators.
Yes,
God, we are
absolutely.
manifestations and experiences of the God source, and that God has given us that free will,
Mm-hmm.
and He has given us the ability to be creators. And
Yes, yes. Yeah, we just basically forgot all this. That's
yeah.
that's the thing, over the especially after Atlantis went down. We went through an amnesiac moment,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
when we came back up or uploaded back onto the program, we had to start all over again in a way. We didn't
Yeah.
know who the hell we were, and we're listening to Darwin tell us, we're coming from the chimps, and we're listening to religion saying that we came from the Garden of Eden, and we all need to really research and figure that out ourselves. Who are we? What are we? And that's what I've spent a lot of years doing myself. And I know about like a lot of the ancient mysteries, especially in ancient Egypt. A lot of these temples were there to help cleanse people, to allow them to enter into the ancient mysteries so that they can expand their own consciousness. And they had temples that helped them. I mean, healing, color therapy, music, um, sound, vibration, so many reincarnation. They would learn about dream therapy. They use so many of these modalities to help them get back into or to reach out to their spirit again.
Yeah.
Because when we come in here, we're closed down to it, and then we're ridiculed if we start to show signs of thoughts that are not part of society's programming.
Yeah.
And I know for personally what that was like, because as a child I was like, every time I would bring up certain things that, shouldn't be bringing up in a classroom, with other
Yeah.
kids, and then they start like, what the hell are you talking about? You're crazy,
Yeah.
and they
We don't
start
talk
bullying.
about that at the dinner table.
Oh yes, yes. I was lucky to one extent because at least my mother was very psychic. She could see spirits. She had mediumistic abilities. My sister was psychic. I was psychic. So at the very least, I had them around me so that I didn't feel totally like crazy. It was when I walked out of the house. That's when I started to feel like, oh, I can't talk about any of these things because they ridicule me.
Yeah.
And then as the years went on, I started to find people who understood what I was speaking of. And now I'm around people, especially now, who are of the same mindset. So now I'm able to be freer, to to experience who I am and to grow from there. Because society tries to shut you down, and of course we know the reason why. They will want you to spiritually expand,
Yeah.
and that's why all these things have been going on for the past couple of years, that because
Yeah.
we're getting too far above, we're getting
Yeah.
too far out there.
Powers that be, the globalists, the cabal, the nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe our planet is infested with you know um, extraterrestrial beings that have been influencing government for a very, very, very long time, and they've had their
Yeah.
hands in with government and trying to,
Mm-hmm.
kind of sponging our abilities, and our gifts. And this is a way for, what I forgot who said it, is don't let a good crisis go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
So they used this, they turned it into a crisis. It wasn't a
Yes,
real crisis, but they turned it and convinced people it was a crisis
exactly.
to
Well,
get
fear will
people
do that.
fearful. Yeah, and get people
Yes.
fearful. And once you have a bunch of people in fear, you have full
Mm-hmm.
control. So,
Right,
and the same
exactly.
thing with cancer. If somebody is truly fearful
Yes.
of this disease, yeah, you will die. You will have, you will, if you're truly fearful of it. But you have to change that energy. You got to go
Yeah.
and attack it and go, I'm not afraid of you.
Well,
I'm not afraid of you.
think about all the programming we have on TV. And as like Ralph Smart says, it's a program for a reason. like all the commercials that are on there, especially around diseases, and they seem to love to get after women with breast cancer. They love to
Yeah.
just like dig in there. It's always about things that you should be happy with what we can get you, in terms of medicine. You'll have one more day. You can watch your family grow. Like, I'm sorry, but I want to have a whole life ahead of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great to see my family doing what they're doing. I want to also excel in my life. It's not just about them, it's about me as well. And there's nothing selfish about that. And
Yeah.
even when you're healing, there is nothing selfish about wanting to heal yourself. And I think people have to realize is that you're not being selfish about wanting to feel good, about feeling better and getting beyond where you are in your life. Because when you feel good and you feel like you have purpose and you're happy, everybody around you wins. Everybody around you feels it, and and everybody starts to use you as an example to help them go
Yeah.
beyond that as well. So they use all these darn commercials to bring people down, to bring fear into them, to accept the way things are, to accept whatever medicine or pills they have out there, which, by the way, hurts you even worse. It gives you more symptoms than you started with, and sometimes it's the same symptoms you're trying to clear up. So where's the logic in that? I like to know.
Yeah.
you know, it's just mind-boggling. But what it all comes down to is choice. Everybody's got free will. It's their choice. No, anybody can accept whatever resonates with them. It's their journey. Nobody can interfere with it, and it's like not up to any one of us to save anybody else. They have to save themselves, and they have to go through what they have to go through. So and I'm hoping a lot more people will start you know seeing the clarity in what's going on, and how it's trying to grab people and disempower people, because that's what
Yeah.
they want. They want people to be disempowered, and fear does that.
Yeah.
So it's
And yeah,
it's
when we briefly spoke yesterday, we touched base a little bit on an awakening that there is, and
yes,
I'm starting to see it. I don't see as many people as I expected to be waking up,
yeah, right,
but I can feel it. I can start to see it, that people are starting to open their eyes and go, wow, we're being
the
lied
hell's,
to.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
being lied to, because some of the stuff is just not making sense. If you want science, this is what you do. Science is, it's not it's not flawless. It's not 100%. That's
right,
what science is all about, is discovery.
yes,
But we have to use a scientific method. We got to use data. We got to go off these data sets and kind of look at it critically, and have an open mind, rather than just saying this. It's not absolute.
yes.
Everything changes.
Well,
Yeah.
not only that, but people in a scientific region tend to go from a hypothesis that they already have, a theory that they already have, and then they try to work backwards to validate that theory. So, but what really has annoyed me very much, and I try to relax myself about the whole thing, is the fact that there's information about how the body works, and why that's being negated through this entire episode of our lives. I don't understand, because I do a lot of reading, and I've learned a lot about how the body works, and how they
Yeah.
can say that you have no symptoms is beyond me, because when the body is compromised, when it feels that there's something in it, that like a foreign antigens or any type of bacteria or anything, it's going to result in some sort of physical manifestation, a
Yeah.
fever, infection, inflammation, congestion, whatever it is, because the body is sending out cells to fight that,
Yeah.
because our bodies have its own autoimmune system. It
Yeah.
knows its own defense system. It knows how
And
to
yeah, and you're
defend
gonna
itself.
feel something. I mean, when
Yes,
you get it, you're going
yes,
to feel a little bit of something.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, and discrediting the immune system. It's like we've been born with an immune system,
Yes.
and been dealing with our immune system since the dawn of mankind. Yet now science is going, oh, the immune system, it doesn't exist. Don't worry about it. It doesn't exist. You need to take this. This is your immunity.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's it is comical when you think about it, like the way they think. You know.
Yeah. It's like they're talking to people that were born yesterday. Sorry.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you've just been let's see, licensed level one aromatherapist.
Yes, I did that right after I was. Oh, the past few years have been like strange because in 2018 I broke an ankle. Went through 2 months of being in the house, and when I soon and this is funny because once you go through something horrific, the minute you have the freedom to get back into life, you want to do something different that you've never done before.
Yeah.
And I've always been really interested in essential oils and the therapeutic side to it. And I decided to take some classes in essential oils in Manhattan. It was the New York Institute of Aromatic Studies, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful, wonderful course. And then I did something at the Tisserand Institute as well because I wanted to see the different sides. You have the American side, and then you got the European side. So I just love the whole idea of the essential oils and how it really helps, even if you're just smelling it. Because even when I was going through the chemo and I needed things to help nurture me. One of the things was the essential oils, and there was two oils that I was constantly using. It was frankincense and it was the rose hydrosols.
Yeah.
Both of these, like the rose hydrosols, rose is a very nurturing, comforting scent. And whenever I would put it, spray it on myself, I just felt like, oh, I could just relax a little. I felt like I was being embraced by a mother sense, a mother atmosphere, or it's just
Yeah.
that comfort was around me. Then with the frankincense, I would put it in the back of my neck, and it would just make me feel a little better from all of the side effects I was getting, from the chemo, and they were so helpful getting me through some of those days when I just like felt like garbage, you know. And people, I know so many people, they poo-poo, the doctors poo-poo the whole holistic side of things, the whole alternative modalities, because they really don't want it to interfere with what they're doing,
Yeah.
because they know once people realize the effect of it, it's going to pull people away from the regular medical industry and what they do. Now,
Hmm.
if they had done something that had better intentions, where they married the two and didn't give you medicine that was going to hurt you, to harm you, of course people would bring the two together, but they have to find a way to leverage their healing. And if you're giving something that's going to, in the long run, create more problems in your body and bring down your immune system and hurt you, naturally we have to find something that's going to help you. I mean, I also took a lot of supplementation as well. My
Yeah.
naturopathic doctor gave me a regime throughout the entire thing. I was building my body up through it all.
Yeah.
So you have to think about all these little things that can help you. I went through reflexology too, because when you do reflexology on your feet, the bottom part of your feet is connected to many other parts of your body. And I just found it just like helping me to cleanse out a lot of the things that were, going into my system.
Yeah.
Because I not only did I lose my hair, but I got bruise marks all over my ankles. My nails were coming off. I was getting dark marks in different parts of my body. Uh, Besides the headaches, besides feeling the heat when I went through the chemo, the indigestion, the nausea, even though they give you steroids with it, and then they give you some other pills to stay down the nausea. The days right after the chemo, your body is sort of like it's off its track, and your digestive system is really like horrible at that point.
Yeah.
So all you can do is just eat comforting foods to help you get through those days, and then you can start on getting back into your diet until you have to go back and do it again. you know
Uh,
so it was like a whole, like, I went through this pattern where every time I knew I was about to get another treatment, a couple of days beforehand, I would get my food ready. I would get whatever I needed to get myself through the next few days after the treatment, so that way I can stay home and just rest and relax and get through it. So I went through a pattern like that for 6 months. I just got myself, I would arrange my house just to make sure that I didn't have to go out of the house and upset, like, because it was hard.
yeah.
You would just be so dizzy and tired, and I had to, and some people would help me, do some grocery shopping beforehand, so that, because they knew that once I'm, after the chemo, I would just be like, I had to just stay home and just rest and relax. That was all I could do.
Yeah.
I tried to do more sometimes because I was like getting self-complacent at times, but then I realized, all right, just do nothing. It's hard when you're so used to doing so much, and then all you're supposed to do is do nothing. That's like a side of myself I had to get to acquaint myself with, because I just did not know how to just relax and do nothing. It was just,
Yeah.
it was tough. It really was. So those are things that people shouldn't feel guilty about doing, because it's their time to heal. That's what it comes down to. You know.
Yeah. Now, for somebody, for our listeners and viewers and stuff, you also have a do spiritual healing, shamanic practitioner. Um, Tell me a little bit about your shamanic practitioner and what you do.
Well, through I took some studies with Blanca Bayer. She's a elder shamanic healer. She's an author. She does a lot of classes and lectures, and one of them was a course on becoming a shamanic apprentice. And when I first, at first I was like saying, it's interesting. I love nature. I would like saying, let me see what this is all about, because you always think of it in terms of, like, tribes, doing their shamanic work, and you're thinking, like, how do you incorporate that or integrate it into who you are as a current person in the world today?
Yeah.
A city folk. I mean, I do a lot of things. I was always into doing a lot of spiritual work, but I want to see exactly how do I integrate it into all of that. So you go into this, it's almost like you're going through an ascension process, basically, when you're going through the course. Because what it's doing is it's heightening your awareness of your spirit. You're becoming connected more to the elements, to nature. You're becoming a part of the collective and the earth reality.
Yeah.
And you're realizing how all these, everything is energy, your energy, everybody out there is energy. And we are incorporating energy and vibration in everything we do, and it's part of the healing process as well. That's why when I went through through my illness, or dis-ease as I want to call it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I went through a lot of healing modalities, and they were all energetic, vibrationally, all on that level, even down to the sound vibration, sound bowls that this wonderful sound therapist, I have to mention her, Nancy Figueroa Belaza. She's an excellent sound therapist, and I tell you, between her and Blanca, they all helped me, and going through the apprenticeship helped me to also understand how to heal myself. So it's an it's a way of getting in touch with a deeper aspect of yourself, basically,
Yeah.
and how to incorporate that into your life. And it's sometimes it's hard to explain, but it's you understanding the aspects in which it touches upon is helps you to understand how it affects you in the long run, because it affects you on so many deep levels.
Yeah.
And you become so much more connected to your spirituality and to your guides, and to, because we're not alone. It's like we don't realize how much we are so taken care of. It's just that we're so closed off from it so
Yeah.
much of the time. And I know that's one of the agendas of what's going on now. They want us to be disconnected from each other and from us, the spiritual aspects of who we are. And you know, that's the reason why they try to keep us distanced and keep things on our faces, you know,
Yeah.
and keep us like they're trying to tell us that we're contagious to one another, that we are going to help each other die.
Mm,
First of all, we all transition at some point.
yeah.
That's going to happen no matter what, you know, and it's all up to us when we want to transition. It's not up to some other, I mean, the God force is a part of us. So therefore, it's a part, we choose the time, we choose when we want to go, and it could end the circumstances. And I know a lot of people, it's hard for people to recognize that. And, you know, but everybody comes to it at their own, you know, own way, their own method, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel. It's just it's a part. I mean, just like animals accept fully when it's time for them to go. You know, they realize it. They don't see it as a bad thing. To them, it's just a part of life. Just
Yeah.
as nature. You know,
Yeah.
it's
That's
and
one thing I've always been drawn to shamanism is it
yeah,
a lot of the practices out there, you know, helps us or enables us to be able to step away from ourselves,
yeah,
um, and kind of realize and look at the bigger picture. Like about a
yes.
month ago, I had my first ayahuasca experience,
Oh, okay,
and that was definitely an experience. It was a
really,
retreat. It was a whole weekend, 3 days,
okay.
yeah, 3 to 4 days. Some people it was 4 days.
Mm.
I didn't have four. I had three. So,
You did a
um,
fast track.
but yeah, and you had to give up everything. You literally had to surrender everything. No cell phone, no computer, not even a watch. I had to give up.
Mm.
Of course, it's the watch is a computer, but I had to take that off, get rid of everything, and no technology, no nothing. I didn't even know what time it was. And there were times during when after the medicine was given to us, and going through the a couple experiences and stuff like that, it just felt like eons of time was going by. It just felt like thousands of years. You know,
Mm.
you enter into a whole new the multi experience our multi-dimensional selves, and stepping away from ourselves, but at the same time too looking at yourself and going, wow, this is me. That what you know what is this all about? And it's and yeah, for every each individual is going to have their own individual experience. The first time doing it, some people have a really horrific bad bad experience because you're getting rid of your demons, you're getting rid of the
Right,
things that are holding you back.
right.
You gotta get rid of that, cleaning out the closet, things that are keeping you from your full potential. um and then as you move forward and you partake in the medicine, later on and stuff like that, each experience gets much better and more loving, more of a
Mm.
loving energy and stuff like that. So um shamanism is definitely I wouldn't suggest ayahuasca for everybody because
Yeah, yeah.
it's nothing for somebody who is on psychotropic medications or suffering from depression or
Yeah.
schizophrenia or anything, or PTSD. um, um, but it is, I think within some of the shamanistic practices there might be an alternative out there for it. um,
Mm.
but yeah, it now as far as spiritual healing,
Mm-hmm.
I feel that this I haven't been able to read your book yet, but that's what this show is about, for you to share some of your journey
Mm.
stuff like that through this book. um,
Yeah.
and um, Now, as far as your book, there is a specific website that they can find this book at, which is
Yeah,
www.spiritualcancerbook.com.
yeah, that's the one that the publisher put out for me, Ex Libris, and they could also find it on my own website, miriamasilver.com, where they could find not only the book and the podcasts and some old shows that I did also, because I've done several different types of spiritual shows over the years. One was MQuest TV, where I would interview people, and it was video. Then I started to do a blog talk radio called Hidden Mysteries,
Mm.
with a friend of mine who's a Hungarian shaman herself,
Oh,
and a metaphysical practitioner. And so we had wonderful conversations about all those types of topics, and it was really amazing. We always loved talking to each other. It was like we were just talking on the phone to each other as opposed to having a show.
yeah.
And then at some point, like a couple of years ago, I think it was, I decided I needed to change things again. I'm always going in transition. And I said, I want to do something that's relevant for today to help people, to sort of like help them raise their consciousness levels, and to help the ascension process. And that's when I came up with the idea of Rev Up and Awaken. And I've had Blanca Bayer on many times. Anytime there's a new book on, or she has a topic, I always want to add her, because her information is like jewels. You want to hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of other people, and then also sometimes I do commentaries. And I do a lot of writing, and sometimes some of the things that I've written, I would narrate it on my show. And a lot of it is just, I always feel like anything that comes through me, I'm channeling, because a lot of times I don't know what the hell I'm going to write. It just comes out of me.
Yeah.
Even the books, I could be walking down the street and things start to come into my head, and then I'm like saying, okay, you're going to have to wait. I don't have a paper and pen on me right now. Wait till I get home and then tell me what you want to tell me to put into the book.
Yeah.
And that happened with both of my books. So there are times when I could be in the middle of something, and because I'm not the type of person who could just like sit and write. It doesn't work for me. There are other people that it's fine for. It doesn't work. I have to have it just come through. It's almost as if my higher self is channeling the information through me.
Yeah.
So when I was going through this book, I just started like just journaling everything, because I said, well, this would be a healing practice as well, because journaling is another thing that helps people to get through their disease or dis-ease that they're going through. So I started to just journal the treatment day, everything that I was doing, and it was almost as if I was like just looking at it from an entertaining look at it, making little side remarks,
Yeah.
because a lot of it was just like, what the hell am I going through? It seems like so out of this world that I'm going through this. And then I had to like add in certain remarks that the people in the medical industry were saying to me, because it just
Mm.
didn't make sense. And especially the things, the technology that they're using, like the PET scans, the CTs. I mean, you go for a PET scan and it's like they want everything to come out clear on the images. So what do? They put things in your body so that it comes out clear on the machine. Would it be much more logical to put those chemicals in them, or find a way to make
Yeah.
those machines clear enough to pick things up? Why am I putting radioactive items in me, or these drinks that they try to pretend taste like pina coladas, which it doesn't make the grade. I'm sorry, I've
Yeah.
tasted pina coladas, it doesn't do it. And they're putting it inside of your body, and then they're telling you to be so stiff like a board and don't move. Like, what is this? It's like I'm a Star Trek fan, so whenever I see this technology on Star Trek, I say, you know what, we are so far. Right now, I know the technology is out there, because Star Trek would never have had it.
Yeah, like the
And
med beds, and I'm
the
I'm
med
hearing a lot of
beds,
that technology is now starting to come out.
exactly. Or, when I was watching Deep Space Nine, what was Odo carrying? He was carrying an iPad. Hello, this is like the 80s,
Yeah.
it was out there a long time before the iPad became commercial use. So I know that the technology that we have right now falls so below the grade. You don't need anything that's invasive. Nothing should be invasive. That's why I'm always like calling on Dr. McCoy. Where are you? I needed you.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, yeah,
it's like I just thought it was just ridiculous and absurd the what we had to put ourselves through so that they can figure out what's inside of it. And also the other thing is healers can innately go into our bodies and see what's going on. So, it just like they're not, see, the doctors are not being taught to be able to integrate both because they're told to stay with that side of the brain. Don't go over there. It doesn't help you. It's not gonna help the client. It's not gonna help them heal. And so they stick restrictively to just what they learn in these medical schools. They pay a hell of a lot of money for what they're learning,
yeah,
and it doesn't touch upon who we are as beings because we're
yeah.
spirit beings. Sure, you got a physical body to take care of, but we're still part of a spiritual connection,
And a
and
lot of
all
the
that.
things too is like these mainstream doctors, they're
Yeah.
a doctor is supposed to teach you. A doctor is
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to cure you or whatnot. They're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
teach you and educate you on whatever it is that their practitioner is, whatever they specialize in is teach.
Right.
A lot of these doctors don't teach you anything. They don't
No.
teach you about your diet.
Right.
Everything is about diet. Everything you put in
Exactly.
your body is what you get out of it. And there is
Exactly.
nothing out there anymore about that. There is not one doctor I have ever met to this day that calls themselves a medical doctor that can tell anything about diet. You know, what should I eat
Well,
in order to prevent this? Or what should I eat in order to,
you'll
how can
only
that?
get that with the naturopathic doctors and the holistic, doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that will inform you about that because I've gone to holistic dentists. I had a naturopathic doctor, and they are all about like well-being, telling you what you can use to heal whatever's going on in your body, and then they help you along with the other aspects as well. When I was going through this circuit of doctors, as I call it, each doctor did primarily their own thing. You go to the primary doctor, he tells you, okay, well, you need to take care of this and this and that. We'll give you a pill for this and this and that. He tells you to go to the oncologist. The oncologist just takes care of the treatment regime that you have to go on. When something happens with with what happens with the chemo,
Yeah.
he tells you to go back to the primary doctor. Oh, he'll help you with that.
Yeah.
He's not there to help you with taking care of, let's say, all the side effects. Then you're sent to a pulmonary doctor so they can see how you're breathing and to make sure your heart is functioning properly. Then the pulmonary doctor wants to force upon you vaccines and things like that. And I said, hell, first of all, you are not my primary doctor. Sorry. Secondly, I'm not going to have something forced upon me,
Yeah.
you know. And so I had to put a lot of these doctors in their place because I was like, especially when I finally was starting to feel better, because in the beginning I was feeling really horrible and so tired and so like I felt like beaten down, from what I was going to have to go through and what I was going through. That I just didn't start to question things. I just, okay, I had to have faith of what this person was giving me. And I figured, okay, well, my spiritual journey is obviously pulling me in this direction for some reason. So I was realizing that, okay, it's giving me, I'm going through this for a purpose.
Yeah.
So, but when I started to feel better and I was listening and starting to listen and putting two and two together, I was like saying, why are they doing things this way? And then I would question them and ask them things. I mean, one time my oncologist called alternative doctors cowboys. And he actually said, well, what other alternative is there besides the treatments that we're giving you? I mean, cowboy alternatives, like, and I'm like thinking, oh, he's talking about the alternative methods.
Yeah.
Like obviously he saw no significance in what a healer could do. If he knew all the things that I was doing alongside of the treatments, he would probably like say poo-poo anything I was doing. So there was no reason for me to even bring it up to him because he didn't have that type of a mindset.
Yeah.
You can't if a person doesn't have that type of opening in their mind to accept those things, you can't make them accept it. And I can tell when I speak to a person whether they're open to it or they're not. If they're not open to it, then I know they're going to have to go along their journey to come to their own time to open themselves to it, you know. And
Yeah.
all I do is like I inform, that's all. You know, I just tell people my experience, this is what happened, these are the things I've experienced, you know, gone through, things that I've found to be very important and healing for me. And then, you know, and then it's up to them, you know, it's up to each person to decide what they want in their lives. Because, you know, after all, they came here with their own agenda. You know, I can't intercept that. You know, all I can do is just give out information. And if they feel drawn to it, well, then that means they're for some reason their spirit wants them to come in that side of it, to come down that path. But if they're not, then they're obviously meant to perhaps go down a different path.
Yeah.
So, and it's all up to them. You know, every person has to choose their own time.
Choose their time and trust their gut, trust their instinct, trust
Exactly.
the voice in your head.
Yeah.
Because I've I've had conversations with people that, they don't listen to that, especially when you're going through a time like this and stuff like that, a disease in your life, and or a condition of some sort that you don't have the true answers of, and you can't. And that's the thing, so a lot of doctors out there will not give you the truth. They will not sit you
Absolutely.
down and tell you exactly what's going on. They won't give you everything. They just
Yes.
bits and pieces and stuff like that. And trust. And I did this when I was, I don't even know if I was diagnosed. I wasn't even diagnosed with anything. My doctor at the time, for years I was going to a company doctor,
Mm-hmm.
that is part of the company I work for. And one day I was like, someone said, go see an independent doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, who's the best doctor that I can go see? Let me see if I can find him. Maybe a Chinese doctor. Chinese medicine? Maybe it'll work. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't. No. It apparently this doctor, it was convenient because it was like literally right across the street from me. I can almost walk there if I had to.
Right. Right.
And realizing that this is a doctor, he must have been in his 50s or 60s. He's been in the system for a while, but he was bought. He was bought by the establishment,
Um,
and he put me on medication I shouldn't have been on. He put me on Lipitor, a cholesterol medication, and something was telling me, don't take it, don't take it. I did anyway. What did I? Probably within a couple weeks, I started having seizures,
oh my
and
God.
immediately took myself off. I was like, I'm not done. I'm not even. Nope, done. Baby aspirin, put me on baby aspirin. I went
Yeah.
back to my old doctor, and he's like, why are you even on this? I was like, what? You shouldn't have been on any of this. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
all it is your, diet, exercise, boom. Because I wouldn't say suffer. I have what they call hyperlipidemia,
Okay.
which means high bad cholesterol, and it's natural. I have a high level of bad LDL. In really,
Mm-hmm.
it's genetic, and pretty much everybody in my family has it. And the only way to control it is diet. Stay
Mm-hmm.
away from animal product. And when I went through my ayahuasca experience, and I haven't not gone back since, no pork and no red meat,
Mm-hmm.
fish and fowl, fruits and vegetables. That's pretty much it. And that helps your cholesterol, garlic, there's all it, and everything about this to correct it is natural.
Right.
It's all homeopathic. There's so
Right.
much things out there that you can do to. And once my old doctor found out about that, he's like, whatever you're doing, keep
Keep
doing
doing
it.
it.
He had no objections to it, even though he was a mainstream, part of the establishment what I call corporate doctors.
Mm-hmm.
um luckily he was open minded, and he's like, something, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it's working. So,
Yeah.
question I had for you is, I had a conversation today with a friend and colleague of mine, about selenium. Did you by any chance take selenium when you were going through your treatments?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because in 2020, and this was after my treatments, I happened to go to a holistic dentist in Manhattan because I had some problems that I needed to take care of,
Yeah.
and she had me add certain things to my supplementation. Selenium was one of them, and she said that that was important for the health of my gums and everything.
Yeah.
So, and I've kept that up ever since. So I'm sure in the long run, it's helped, health wise, and for the entire body.
Yeah, someone mentioned he's like look into taking some daily micro doses of selenium, which is a very, very small dose. It's like
Yeah,
I'm not sure how it's measured, but
yeah, yeah.
that it's good for all kinds of stuff. But it was something specific that he said, for it helps destroy. I wouldn't say it helps destroy because like I said on this show, I don't give medical advice or
Right.
or anything, but it helps to assist in something with cancer cells or something. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but
Yeah, I ended up taking, besides that, while I was going through it, I was taking alpha lipoic and glutathione. It's always so hard to
oh
say these words.
yeah,
And there were so many others that I've kept, and I've just been keeping it up because I feel that first of all, it can't hurt, and
yeah,
second of all, it was helping me throughout the entire section of that problem I was going through. And you want to keep your health up no matter what. So, and besides which, we deal with so much toxins and processed items, and I mean, we don't even know half the stuff that we get into our bodies that we
oh
breathe
yeah,
in, or
yeah.
so I feel like the supplements can only help increase your health one way or the other, strengthen your tissues and cells.
Yeah.
So I've just been, just keeping that regimen up anyway.
And that's one thing too that I've been I've definitely the whole ayahuasca thing too. A week prior to the retreat was not necessarily a fast, but just get away from the red meats, the red meat, beef, pork. You can have the fish or the fowl and stuff like that. You can have that, but be clean. Have a clean diet. No processed foods, no alcohol, no caffeine. I mean, I have a little caffeine now, but still, it by cleansing yourself and keep and right now I have yet not even processed foods. I mean, I used to, every week or every other week I'd go buy like some cold cuts and stuff like that to make sandwiches. Nothing, none of that. It's either fruits, vegetables, stuff that's raw that I can cook. Um, no sodium, well, you can cheat on the sugars. Gotta have a cookie once in a while and
Oh,
stuff like
sure,
that.
absolutely, or chocolate.
But yeah, no fast food, nothing. I can't even think about even going to a fast food restaurant. There's no way. Now I can feel and see that it's poison. That even if I did try to eat it, I probably wouldn't even be able to walk into a McDonald's nowadays.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So let's see here. You've got so the Rev Up and Awaken, that's your podcast.
Right.
And that can be you can go to www.miriamasilver.com.
Yeah,
How
I have all the podcasts up there, and then they're also on SoundCloud because I take them from SoundCloud, put them up on my website, and then I usually put them out on Facebook. Let people know it's there. But
yeah,
all the shows, if they want to see it, they can go to my website, and I'm constantly putting out new, others. So the website is, starting to accrue a lot of shows. So
yeah, yeah,
you know. So, and
yeah.
I'm always looking for more guests, and
Absolutely, absolutely. And
interesting interviews.
yeah, and I tell you what, getting content can be tricky. when I had this show, when I started the show back in 2014, no, 2015.
Mm.
Um, I guess I was in the right place at the right time. There were some events going on, some paranormal events going on, some international
Yeah.
ones. And when the people that were putting these together, the actual events themselves, when they knew about my radio show, they're like, wow, can we be your content? Can we be your first content? And
Mm.
right off the bat, hundreds and hundreds of subscribers and listeners. And then after having to move to China due to work and stuff like that, living abroad, I couldn't find anybody to take over the show. So I brought it to an end, and eventually one day, bringing it back. And I think September of last year was when I decided, all right, literally almost another overnight thing. I'm bringing it back.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and yeah, it's been a little tough now to get the content because before I closed the show back in 2015,
yeah.
it took a little while for the first couple months after I was done with the show and it was all live. Um, I'd have to struggle looking for, okay, who's going to be next week's guest? What am I gonna, you know,
Yeah.
after the first 2 months, it it started doing its own work. I never even had to look for guests anymore. I'd have like four or five hits, by the time I did the next show. And it's like, then I'd already have a bunch of content lined up to last me,
Well,
weeks.
that's great. Yeah.
So, but right now it's
Yeah.
kind of doing these spirit fests and stuff like that. It helps with content, for anybody that's, for
Mm.
yourself. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if you didn't stop by the booth, we wouldn't be talking.
I know, I
No,
know. I was so happy.
yeah,
Yeah, I was with some friends, and one of them said, "Oh, you got to go over that booth," because he knew I was looking for to make contact with somebody, for an interview or to, a radio show, anything.
yeah.
And that's what I said. Oh, and I ran over there. You weren't there, but I had your cards.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so it worked out. You know.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I tell you what, you're welcome back anytime too. If you
Oh,
got
well,
a
thank you,
got a new book
thank you.
coming out or you got something new to talk about. Like I said, we don't only have to do a duo show. If we can get three people on here at a time or four people at a time, I got the pro account, so I can have up to 100 people. But who wants that? That's too many. That's too much of a crowd.
Yeah,
Um, and too many people speak at one time.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
but I'd like to do some shows to where we can have like maybe a roundtable discussion
that's
and
nice.
have probably no more than four people,
Mm-hmm.
um and kind of just talk about some topics and
Yeah,
pass around the table and stuff like that.
no,
And
yeah.
but let's see how long has it been? What time is it? 4:19. Almost an hour and a half, not quite. But so, what else out there is it that you would want our listeners and viewers to know about yourself?
About myself. Well, I'm getting back into my art, which I'm finding to be very therapeutic and something that I went through. I went to the High School of Art and Design in Parsons, in New York. And that art was like my go-to because being a child, it was like I needed to have a means of escape because my family was like so dysfunctional. It was like it's like if I didn't have books and my art, I
Yeah,
don't know how I would have gotten through it because it was just and I give some glimpses of it through my book because I'm showing the tie and the connection between the traumas that you go through in childhood and how it affects you later on. And if you don't transmute the energy from yourself, from your body and everything, it can manifest in an illness.
yeah,
So with the artwork, I that was like something that I always found pleasure with, and it helped me to find a way to just like I guess in those days it probably was part treatment. I mean therapy because it was a way to escape from everything.
yeah,
And then when I got out of the high school, I was basically going to go back into drawing. I went through a period where I wanted to get into fashion, and then I went into drawing, and then all of a sudden I went through this because I always loved film. I've always old films, always wanted to be a part of that industry. And then something told me, something was pushing me. I have to tell you, it was pushing me towards video or filmmaking. And I wasn't sure what it was. I felt like I had to give up the drawing. So, and that was bothering me. But then I ended up taking some classes in video, in video production. Went to Parsons for video, and I took up video production in their global village area of Parsons. And then I started to do independent type of cable work, with
Yeah.
people who did just like I had one show that it was called Young, Gifted, and Broke. It was like the first show I ever did. I did camera work and editing on that. We each had time to do work on our own projects, which was great. Well, if I had a project that I loved doing, and they said, go ahead, you do it. You could put it on the show. So I loved camera work. I loved editing. I loved producing shows. And I did a lot of interest. Halloween was like one of my favorite times of the year. So every
Yeah.
year I would do like something to do with Halloween, either going out to shoot the Halloween parade in New York, or just putting together something that was Halloween related or paranormal related, something that would just be very interesting to do.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the things that I would do. And then I just slowly started to get into just doing some, freelance type of video work. And I was trying to get into like the video industry, like cable work, but for some reason they just didn't want me, and they would just wanted to use people as interns. And frankly, I couldn't afford to not work and make money. Let's
Yeah.
talk here. Internship is not the way to go when you got to put food in your belly and take care of your family, and and pay rent after a while. It wasn't going to work. So I
Yeah.
just kept on the independent level. And I frankly realized the reason why this happened because I was able to do my own thing. I was able to put out my own personal perspective on things, my own flavor on life, and I've always been the type of person that saw through things. I was always a rebel. I was always like thinking, why doesn't make sense, and talking about it and trying to figure out like, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
That's always been the personality I had. So little by little, when I lived in Staten Island, I did a show in CTV there, community television. You just did your own little, shows there, and I did a show called Alexander's Psychic Eye for like 14 years in that studio.
Wow.
And we basically, Alexandra would come on. She was a teacher of mine at that point. I put the whole show together. I got the talent, put the scripts together, the questions we're going to ask. I put together my crew, told each one of them what they needed to do, gave them the scripts. They knew what to do, the videotapes. I also did the directing in the control room. So, and I had a technical director. He would naturally listen to what I wanted him to do, what shots to take, and I would just give my host Alexandra the questions. She would go over the scripts to see what type of person was going to come on the show. The person would come in. The show was taped,
Yeah.
and I loved putting the show together. It's just that being the OCD person that I am, I would get myself irritated every time every time something looked like it wasn't just right,
Yeah.
like an angle wasn't right, or if I had a photograph that had to be shot, it was like it needs to be put on an angle. I had to think about angles. I don't know what it was. I
Yeah.
think it's part of a star seed thing. The angles, the energy is better on that angle. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but
Yeah.
you know. So after a while, my technical director got to understand the type of person I was, and he says, "Your photograph is not on an angle," And then he would say, "Okay, fix it, fix it. I'm glad you saw it. Fix it." So after a while, you start to like everybody works together and everybody knows what each person needs. And I mean, sometimes I would just set up the cameras myself, and the person would come in, shoot, leave, and I got what I wanted because I knew what I needed,
Yeah.
and then put the show in, and it would be aired on CTV, and then I would also put it into Brooklyn and Manhattan as well. So I was doing that for 14 years, and after a while, like you were saying, it was hard getting uh, talent to come out there because we were in Staten Island. And a few times, I mean, there was a few people that actually went long distance to be on the show. And
Huh.
I was like so grateful because I was like saying, my God, you're coming from some other state, you're coming into Staten Island. It's not exactly a big place,
Yeah.
it's not like Manhattan. But I was really appreciative because a lot of them brought so much wonderful information, on spirituality and their paranormal experiences. We had people who were book writers. We had people who had just amazing things. And we also did like Staten Island had a lot of paranormal activity too. And some of the places we had the people who worked in this place called Edgewater Hall, I think it was, on in the St. George area, and the place was known to be very have a lot of hauntings.
Yeah.
And I went in there. I took some B-roll, just to get pictures of the place. I swear, I felt things are coming around me, and it was like. And then at that time, I got very nervous, and I said, "Okay, I'm shooting. I'm leaving. Bye." I said, I felt like there was something. They had like this basement area where they had the bar area. Very old place, tin ceilings. It was just like, and then they had upper levels where they would do events, for weddings or what have you. And that bottom area, they had this old-fashioned safe, I think. And it was known that there were spirits that would hang around those areas.
Yeah.
But being the curious person I was, I said, well, I want to shoot this place. I got to shoot these areas because maybe something will come out.
Yeah.
But the only thing, I mean, I just felt, I mean, I'm a feeler. I can feel when something's around me. And I felt like an energy around me. And of course, I got nervous and I just like, okay, I'm taking a photograph. Bye. And I left. I ran the hell out.
Yeah.
So it was, and then we had the people who owned a place on to talk about their experience. So we had a lot of interesting people. We had scared as these people who did paranormal investigation in Staten Island and in other places they called themselves initially Scared on Staten Island, then they just called themselves Scared. And they would just bring in all their experiences in all these places of, paranormal activity, which was really fascinating. So, it was a very fascinating show, but after a while, it was very hard getting people on.
Yeah.
And I felt something was telling me it's time to move on. And that's when I decided to do Blog Talk Radio after that and do my MQuest TV. And then things just, went on to other things. And finally, Rev Up and Awaken is my most, recent acquisition or recent project. And so there was an organic flow. I was being pulled in. My higher self was telling me. I could always tell when something is wrong, when I need to do something, because my higher self would make me feel a certain way. Because they can't talk to you verbally, but they send messages through light language and energetic language.
Yeah.
So when you get a feeling of a certain thing, when you feel emotionally like something's off, something's making you angry, you feel uneasy about something, it's usually telling you that something needs to be changed, something needs to be transitioned. And then the sense of what that transitioning is comes to you. You have to be open to it. It's just like something that just gets revealed as it goes along. In my first book, I talk about how how my spiritual path unfolded. And I looked back on it for so many years to see, well, what were those signs? And I realized it was just like subtle little movements along a pathway that brought in certain spiritual teachers, that brought in certain people into my life, that brought me to different periods of my life.
Yeah.
And we don't realize how much of a flow it is. It just comes to us. It's just not like we know at the time what's happening. We look back at it and we see the signs along because
Yeah.
we notice the design that it took to
Yeah.
come to a certain
It's like
point in our lives.
yeah, it's like the law of attraction is we can see how it works by how involved we get. We get mentally, emotionally, and physically involved in something that we have a passion for. Then you start to you start to draw that energy. You start to draw that like energy, and it starts to come towards you. You start to, attract it. And I've noticed that, since I got back doing a radio show, I never got approached by anybody about, doing this or doing that and stuff like that. As soon as I launched the show and I started getting more emotionally involved in the work, then the universe goes, "Oh, you're ready." Then God, universe starts sending out, you know, this other, people and like-minded people and like energy,
Yes.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yep.
Life is a subtle journey. You don't know it's really happening until you go through it. That's it.
Yeah,
it it's
yeah,
it's not like you're gonna get like lightning striking you and say, "This is it. Here's the neon light. Here, come here."
yeah,
It's not gonna. I mean, you will get messages, but they're very subtle messages. It's not like a pushing. It's not putting it in your face. Although
yeah,
sometimes it can. Sometimes it might.
yeah,
But a lot of times it's just like you sometimes you may walk past it and not even realize it,
yeah, yeah.
but it's
Or,
it's
yeah,
talking to you.
or some people are so lost. It's like, I don't know what to do, or I don't know how to move forward. I know what to do, but I don't know how to move forward doing it.
Yeah.
And I go, it doesn't matter. Just see it, feel it, imagine it, put all of your emotion into it, and imagine yourself doing something in particular with whatever it is that you want to
Yeah.
do. And the more energy and emotion you put into it, it'll come to you. Boom,
Yeah.
something will happen.
And
That's
and
law of
and
attraction.
even if you're not even aware of what you want to do, just say, universe, I don't know where the hell I want to go. I don't know what it is that I need to do. I'm confused.
Yeah,
Can you show me something? Maybe give me a hint. I
yeah,
mean, it's like you have to put the emotion behind the question, because the universe answers by the emotion and wants to feel that passion. You
yeah,
know, if you got a passion for something, like, I need to understand. I think that's why that was one of the things that happened to me. Sometimes I think back as a prelude to going through the cancer, period. I remember at one point I said, I don't like the way life is right now. I need things to change. And I remember being very passionate about it. And then that whole thing hit. But what happened was it moved me to another period of my life.
yeah.
So it wasn't for nothing. They were answering me. They said, "Okay, we're going to give you this," because it's going to lead you to other things.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
because when we go through a certain thing like this, we don't think it's going to lead us to anything better. We're just in the moment, and it's like an horrific thing, and it's like, you just feel like it's just not going to get you to a better place. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
think we just have to hold on to our hats and see where it takes us. Yeah.
Exactly. Buckle up, put your seatbelts on, keep all hands and arms inside the vehicles at all times because it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Like Betty Davis said, all about Eve, it's going to get bumpy.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. This is it's been a very interesting and enlightening conversation that we've had.
I'm
Um,
glad.
and I'm sure everybody else will feel the same after it gets posted on YouTube. So,
I'm
um,
glad. Thank you.
like I do have the live capability through the Zoom Pro version, but every time, like I said, every time I do a live show, something happens.
I know I've always been afraid of doing a live show because I feel like I don't have the control. As it is, that sometimes Zoom could be a pain in the ass at times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was going to try out Squadcast because that was another way of recording. So that's something that I'm going to, like, try out and see how it turns out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I want the audio to be so much.
Oh,
I,
I
I
know.
love
Yeah.
I love good audio.
Yep. I'm an audio person and I'm a video person.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about video production and stuff like that, Spirit
Mm-hmm.
kind of led me into because a lot of my videos, all the stuff out in the field and stuff like that, I've been using my iPhone to do the videos. And
Yeah.
Spirit finally goes, you know something? You need a video camera, an
Mm-hmm.
actual video camera. The heck with using your phone and being dependent on that.
Yeah.
because, you know, the phone has a mind of its own. It likes to do something.
Right.
And but I've been a photographer, a professional photographer. I've done a lot of professional photography and videography work going all the way back since high school, since the late '90s, mid late '90s. And I didn't realize. Well, I've been a Canon person for a long time. I guess Canon was the first Canon. I would have gone Nikon, but Nikon at the
Right.
time was really expensive. But I now realize that I saw the write ups on the Canon um, E50 or something like that, Mark II. It's got
Okay.
like the standard Rebel type cameras that they have and stuff, but this is the EOS and it's got 4K capability. And looking at all the reviews, how it is, and looking at the rigs that you can actually build for it,
Right. Right.
wow, it's like now I can actually go out and do some professional video work
Oh,
and
that's great.
have you can put a monitor on a video monitor onto it. You can hook
Okay.
up lavalier mics and stuff like that for
Yeah.
for lectures and stuff like that. You can hook up lights. You can hook up other microphones to it. You can hook up all these different rigs and stuff like that for it and whatnot. And a matte box if you need it, or filters.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and some of it with my old. I'm hoping when it comes next week, I can still use some of my old camera equipment that it's adaptable,
Yeah.
like some of my 49 millimeter lenses and filters and batteries. Hoping, but but yeah, Spirit kind of guided me. He's like, nope, you got a technology problem. You need to, and when you're doing public work and being out in the public, you need to look professional, not holding your camera, not your phone.
I
Really?
know. Yeah. I
So
know. I understand. Yeah, because I remember years ago, I started out, I was when we were working independently, one of the cameras that I started out with was like a VHS camera. And then being the person I am, I was the only one in my group, my little video group, that was so worried about the technical qualities because I just like said, none of these things look good to me,
yeah,
you know. And then I was doing work. Oh yeah, I worked at the Intrepid Museum many years ago too in their audiovisual department, and they would rent out these big, the SP, the Beta SP
yeah,
cameras. They were big cameras, and we would, use them to shoot events. You see this small little girl walking around with a big camera on her shoulder. But
yeah,
I was into it because I love video shooting.
yeah,
So I went through so many different types of devices: the Super VHS, the 8 millimeter, the high eight, and then at some point we got into the digital stuff. And then a friend of mine, Kenny, who still lives in Staten Island, we always did video work together. He started to get those Canon video cameras as well, and he would tell me how great a camera was too. And
yeah,
he would do a lot of his work on it. And I saw it had a lot, it was really good depth of field and everything. It was
yeah,
really, really a good camera. So, and because I came from a period where when I was doing editing work, I used to carry around these big videotapes for editing. I would go to an editing place in New York and do, edit the stuff and give it to the producers I'd be working with at that time. And I was used to these big machines throwing videotapes in there, the Chiron system and all that. And then when everything started to become like digital and computerized, I was like, oh my God, I got to learn a new format. I can't stay. There's no longer the dinosaurs. I got to go back. I'll go ahead to the new computerized systems. So
yeah,
then I had to learn the computerized, type of editing. So now, when I do my rev up or any other type of video work, I use ScreenFlow because I find it very user friendly, and I like things to be easy and simple. I
yeah.
don't like these. I tried Final Cut and it was just driving me nuts. It
Mm,
was annoying me. I couldn't deal with it. So I
yeah,
went to ScreenFlow because I just don't want to have to think about the technical aspects. I want to be able to create. So I felt like the ScreenFlow was helping me, and I was able to do some, really interesting work on it. I even did some videos that's also on my website. If they go to the archive tab, they'll
uh-huh.
find a lot of my older stuff. my videos and things like that. And then I have a tab just for my books, so they'll find that on the website. And then
Yeah.
actually the homepage has all my podcast shows. But yeah, I went through like a whole, level of different types of formats and different types of video cameras and editing. Because if you're living long enough, you're going to go through many different changes and transitions.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what the future has to hold.
I remember the advent of digital photography, and
Oh yeah,
this probably shows my age a little bit, but when I did everything in the dark room, I was always in the dark room doing all my photography. I
yeah,
Everything was by hand, the
yeah,
chemicals, you know, uh, processing your film and everything. Wow. It just and when the digital slowly started to come out, I always told myself and my peers, I'm never going digital.
that's
It's going to take the art away.
yes,
Not gonna, it's no longer going to be artistic. I can't do this. I
yes,
won't be able to do that. And now everything's digital.
yeah.
Where are you? Yeah, and that just reminds me, when is the last time you saw a roll of film?
Oh my God, I don't even. I think I came across it in my boxes when I moved, but that's about
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
know, I know. I miss those days actually. I miss having the old fashioned cameras, and
Walking into a Walgreens or something like
yeah,
that, or a Rite Aid, and
yeah,
behind the counter where there's now cigarettes, it used to be just this huge shelf
yeah.
of
Different
film,
types of film, yeah.
slide film, or that film, or this or that and that and that. And
And
I
then you
used to
try to,
remember all the types of films and 300s, 200s, and stuff
yeah,
like that. Now I couldn't even tell you because I
trying to figure out the
don't
different
use it.
ASAs that you had to use for different
Yep.
situations. It was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that was. It feels like a million years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Wow.
Yeah, time flies.
Oh, it does. Oh, it does. Man. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
so so anybody out there that wants to get a hold of Mimi on and either read her book, go to her. I'll have the website up. I'll have a banner on stuff like that. Stuff. Go to her website, um, www.spiritualcancerbook.com, which is the publisher's website, or the Rev Up and Awaken can be viewed on www.miriamasilver.com. You do have a YouTube page or channel, correct?
I just started one for Rev Up. I haven't put anything out there because I was just getting disgusted with all the things I was hearing about people getting banned and everything. And I was like saying, do I want to be a part of this? It's like, but perhaps it's necessary because I need to spread the good energy out there.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's like we gotta, get rid of the negative, dense energy and put out the good light. That's what we gotta do.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And on the YouTube channel, this broadcast will be on the our YouTube channel for Conscious Radio Network, and I'll have all the Facebook page and stuff like that, anything that people want to reach out to you for,
Okay.
either the purchase of the books or go see where they can find you on your podcast.
Okay, great.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
you're
Thank you. This is a wonderful interview. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Very enlightening, and it is definitely information that people need to know about because I mean, I don't want people to feel like they're abandoned and they have nowhere to go
Yeah.
if they're ever, hit with, any type of disease, like cancer or anything.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of resources out there um, that they can find, and your book and the work that you do is one of those resources. So,
Great. Thank you.
so
Thanks a lot.
awesome, Mimi. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to talking to you again.
Great. I'm looking forward to it again too.
Awesome. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you,
You too.
everybody, for watching. You all have a good night. Where's my